Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Made for More podcast. Today I have Emma Tynan with me, an incredible life and business coach. Emma and I actually met, about a year and a half ago inside of a group program where we were both sort of, navigating the world of online entrepreneurship and just trying to get our business off the ground. And it's kind of crazy. I was thinking earlier today how much has changed and happened and shifted in the past year and a half. But Emma is really someone who inspires me every single day with her boldness and her bravery to just have her message heard and share with the world. So I'm so excited to introduce you to her today. So welcome, Emma, to the Made for More podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
I'm so excited that you're here. So I guess we'll kick things off. Tell everybody sort of where you're at and, what you're doing and how you got here. Your story and knowing that you're made for more and meant to do big things.
Without spending all day on that very long epic story of how I got to where I am, I'll go back briefly to when I was working in the fashion industry, because that was one of those moments when I realized there was more for me than just what I was currently experiencing. I wasn't being paid properly. My health was struggling. It's on the outside, I had this really glamorous life, traveling to Paris and worked in a luxury fashion house in London, and it was super glamorous, all the parties and celebrities and all of that. But on the inside, I was dying of death. I knew that I was meant to help people. I knew I had this big message to share with the world. I knew it was something to do with service and spirituality and working with women, but I had absolutely no idea how I was going to craft that. And that was, that was like 6 years ago now. So that journey, it kind of led me from there, and I did lots of traveling in between then and now, and lots of soul searching. And back in 2014, I discovered life coaching, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the thing. This is what I've been searching my whole life for. I didn't even know it was a thing. And until I kind of realized that I had been doing it all along for friends and family, I'd realized, even when I was doing my undergraduate degree, I was like, oh my gosh, I was life coaching people through their relationships and struggles that they were going through and all that. So I just felt like I'd always been doing it. Like this was what I was meant to be doing. And I also really started to dig into doing a lot more writing. I loved writing. And I was freelancing as a journalist when I was living in Paris during all that time as well, and writing for different online magazines and newspapers and that kind of stuff. And that was an incredible experience and gave me a chance to kind of hone my skills. So I consider myself a writer as much as a life and business coach. And then the business coaching side came so naturally to me as well, because I'm super passionate about women's empowerment and online business. And it's such a powerful vehicle for empowering women to create their own financial income streams and to, create autonomy and move away from the traditional working models of, it was either, I feel like it was either, for women, it was either choose a career or choose a family. Whereas now it's kind of having the world of online, that's totally flipped it on its head. And the internet is just an incredible thing. So that's why I'm passionate about online business as well. So it's all, that's my journey, how it's become this kind of amalgamation of all of those things. And I refused to kind of drop any of my passions. I was going to bring it all together to the table and find a way to do it. And I have, so yay.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that. And that's a huge representation of sort of, my brand being made for more, and realizing that you don't have to choose just one direction, and that there is another way for you to really fulfill your full potential. And I love that you said that you brought all of your passions to the table, because that's what we do as entrepreneurs. We're trying to bring together every single past experience and skill. And I love it. I think that's amazing. So, over the past year and a half that we've known each other, I guess, we've had so many conversations, both, I guess, on the high end of entrepreneurship and the low end. And one thing that, we've talked about a lot that I really thought I wanted to bring to the podcast today and bring to the table so that everyone else could sort of hear and discuss is just this idea of really giving ourselves more grace as entrepreneurs and getting out of our own way. And I know for a fact you have pulled me out of my own way on more than one occasion. I've probably done the same for you a couple times.
Yeah, for sure.
But let's talk about like self-sabotage for a second. I mean, sometimes I feel like we don't even know that we're doing it. I don't know. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, totally, 1,000,000%. Let me see, self-sabotage, it's going to rear its ugly head. I think it rears its ugly head most when you're trying to up level or when you're trying to make a change, when you're trying to like create a drastic change in your life, whether it's, leaving a job that you've been like on the fence about, and maybe you want to start your own business, but you're just like, oh, it's never going to be the right time. I never have enough money, blah, blah, blah. There's, we come up with a million excuses. So that's one form of getting in your own way, which is kind of coming up with all the excuses as to why it won't work and why it's not possible and all of that, which is all bullshit. And the other self-sabotage, and actually we were talking about this today as well, is kind of the comparison thing, which is huge, and that happens to me. Of course it does, like, especially the world of online, it's hard not to drift onto other people's paths sometimes. Mm-hmm. And it's really toxic. It's really, really toxic when you compare yourself to other people online. It's also a way to, like I said, self-sabotage and using it as an excuse, because your mind is going to come up with things like, oh, sure, why should I start that business? Because so-and-so was doing it over there and she's already making like her multiple six figures doing it. There's no space for me in the market and all of this, which is more BS. So it's getting out of your own way is really stepping into your power and owning your message and what you came here to do, because there's more than enough space, there's more than enough clients, there's more than enough money in the world, there's more than enough of everything for you to succeed, for you to have whatever you want, because that's my belief, is you can do and have whatever the hell you want. It's just a matter of just doing it, just making the decision, the really fierce decision to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a couple different things and it's probably different for every entrepreneur, your own, I guess, formula of self-sabotage, and whether that is comparison or just perfection, just waiting on everything to be perfectly aligned for you to take action. And I mean, entrepreneurship is scary as hell, but I feel like the reason that we kind of got into it in the first place is far greater, and it's the main mission that needs to be fulfilled. So as long as we can sort of keep moving past these blocks and these self-sabotage experiences that we have placed in front of ourselves, then I think it's easy to feel like confident and keep moving forward.
Yeah. And I think the thing is, they never go away. You just get a lot stronger at navigating them and, keep putting one foot in front of the other, like I've had moments where I've said to myself, like, why have I done this? Like, why have I decided to set up my own business? This was like insane. Like, this was insane. I have moments of like, were you crazy? Like, deep, dark moments like that. But of course I wouldn't have it any other way, And I remember speaking to my dad about this, and he was like, you'd go straight back into a job and you would and this was in the early days when I was starting out, it was hard. Mm-hmm. And he was like, you'd go straight back into a job and within a week you'd be bored. And he was right. Probably like within an hour, I'd be like, oh my God, what have I done? It's just, for me, it's all about freedom. And it's all about, like, I think as well, a huge part of, quote unquote success in whatever that you do, it's holding kind of steadfast to your mission and being persistent and just showing up every day for it. Just showing up every day, even on the days when you're just like, this is hell. I don't want to do it today. There are some days you just want to hide away. And that's the reality. And people don't want to talk about that online. I mean, we've spoken about this before. Like, it's just like unspoken about the kind of highs and lows. Nobody really wants to talk about the lows. Everyone wants to like toot about their 6-figure launch. But nobody wants to talk about the actual graft and the grind and the cranking that goes into getting there, you know, because we can spiritualize it all we want, but at the end of the day, you've got to, the work has to be taken. The action steps have to be taken. You've got to scare the crap out of yourself and just keep moving forward, keep doing it. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. Not a lot of people do talk about what really happens behind the scenes. And I tend to gravitate towards those entrepreneurs who are sharing those things and lifting the veil. And I mean, we could talk about how, you know, yesterday I had a breakdown, a cry fest in my kitchen in front of my husband, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, okay, well, that's what my biz besties are for, and my community of entrepreneurs. And so, but those are the things that happen, and it is kind of a roller coaster ride. And yeah, there's things that you can do to kind of have that steady, streamlined, you know, systems in your business, but the emotional side of things, I don't know if that ever kind of steadies out, especially if you want to keep growing and challenging yourself and really going after that bigger mission that you have set out to do and to accomplish. So I love that. I love that we're talking about getting raw and real and authentic with what it takes. So
yeah, what it takes, because at the end of the day, it's like, if it was easy, everyone would do it. Truth, but it's not. But it's so worth it. It's so worth it.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. I wouldn't have it any other way. And yeah, like, I have breakdowns, like burst into tears like that. Like, are you kidding? It's because I care so much about this business and this life and my clients and this message that I have, you know, that I want to get out in the world, because I believe it's like, that's my calling. That's what I came here to do. And that's what everyone else listening to this podcast, you know, so anyone listening, you're not listening to it just by chance. It's like you're listening to it because you know that there's something more for you, that you have this message and you want to get it out in the world, but maybe you just don't know how to do it. But
yeah. And I think that's a really important thing too, to know that, to be led by your message, because I think it was my husband I was saying to this the other day as well, just, you know, those who get into entrepreneurship just to make money are not in it for the right reasons. You're not going to, you know, win at this game. So you have to be in it for such a deeper passion and be driven by something external from money, I guess you could say.
Oh my God. Yeah. And like, that is, I mean, gosh, that is just, you just cannot, money is just never going to drive you forward through. It's just nothing feels right. Nothing feels right when it's been driven by money. And you just can't, you can't grow a business with, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work like that. Oh, there was something else I was going to say there, but anyway, it's gone. It'll probably come back to me.
Yeah. But I love how, you know, you help people bring out their own messages. And I think that that's really, really powerful and such an important thing. And something that matters, I think, is the number one thing that you can do and figure out in your business is, what is your message? Because it doesn't matter what systems you have in place, what sales funnels you have going on. If you're not clear on that, you're not going to be able to truly serve, you know, your audience and those people that you want to help. So I think that that's also really important, in getting out of your own way to realize that what you have is not for you. Like, you're not in it in entrepreneurship for yourself. It's for other people. Yeah. And so if you can kind of realize that, then maybe it's easier to push yourself aside and keep doing what you're meant to do, right?
Yeah. And it's true, because when you realize it's not about you, it kind of takes the pressure off. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now about being driven and taking those steps forward. It's like, I was chatting to my publicist about this thing, and obviously she works in public relations, and she was saying, you know, she gets a lot of people who come to her looking for public relations, PR, to become famous. And she doesn't work with people like that. She's got no interest in working with people who want to use PR to get famous. Mm-hmm. She only is interested in people who've got this message, and they want to use the media as a way to spread this message even further, because she knows that the people who come from that place, their message just goes viral. She says they're the easiest people in order to get coverage for. Like, their message just energetically spreads in a completely different way. It just takes off. And driven by ego or money is just, it doesn't work like that.
Right. Yeah, you know, that was actually something else I wanted to ask you about, your experience with like putting yourself out there in the past year, and, you know, working with your publicist, and you know, and that's really getting out of your own way and putting yourself out there, because you have this bigger mission that you've got to spread. That's what your soul is telling you have to do. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that process for you, and what that has felt like to kind of move through any other past insecurities of holding on to anything, and going out there and really sharing with the world what you have to say, and how you can help other people.
I think, it's funny, because I was thinking back of like a year and a half ago, I would never have been able to do a live video. I would never have been able to do this, like do a podcast. Are you kidding? That was like my Everest. I used to talk about that stuff being like my Everest. And now, baby steps, realizing it's not about me, it's about the mission and the message. And just like I said, putting one foot in front of the other, scaring the crap out of yourself, because if you're not scaring yourself, you're not changing. If you're not changing, you're not growing. It's amazing. It's kind of taken off. But that was that for me was the biggest realization, when I realized it's not about me. So I don't care now anymore. I'm like, whatever. I'll jump on a Facebook Live, and I go on without makeup sometimes. My hair looks a mess and whatever, but that's just real life. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't make me any less of a, I just had to give up all the perfection stuff. And I just realized that people just want reality now. They just want the real. They want the real deal. They want authenticity. And I know that word is bandied around the internet a lot when people talk about being authentic, but like 99.9% of the time, people really aren't being authentic. They think they are, but they're not. They're not being 100% completely real and completely themselves. So it's been an incredible experience, and it pushes me and it doesn't push me. It calls me. It calls to me more now. Like I feel like I'm being led by it. And, even when I have moments like this, I'm like, oh gosh, I get clarity when I talk like this, Sometimes you feel like you're pushing, but I'm not pushing. I'm being led to just share my message on an even bigger scale, and through a bizarre sequence of events, of course, with my publicist. She's now got someone working in the US. So we're going to start, going to the US now and getting coverage in the US. That's like really scary, but also that it's exciting as well. And that feeling, like that fear and excitement of like, oh gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, just to go back to what you were saying about authenticity and that word being like thrown around a lot, I agree. But I think what really needs to kind of back that word up is vulnerability, because I think authenticity is, it's like I'm being authentic, but if you're not being vulnerable, you're not being authentic. And I think that's what allows you to kind of get out of your own way. If you are being brave enough to kind of show your true colors and the ups and downs and everything that goes on to accomplish what it is that you're trying to share with other people. What it really takes, I guess you could say.
Yeah, vulnerability is crucial as well. There's a major shift as well towards that online. I can see it even towards writers and new books that are being published in the whole world of personal development and self-help and all of that, it's like people are getting so raw and so real and sharing stuff that even 5 years ago would have been inconceivable that people would have published and gotten printed and said, you know, but now we are like craving that. We are craving that connection with other people. Like, oh, you felt that too. Like she feels it too. She understands. It's really, like you said, lifting the veil on it, but in a way where it's like, let's just all be vulnerable together and be like, hey, yeah, we've all been through pain. We've all suffered loss. We've all been transformed by life altering things that have happened to us. And that's okay. It's just made us who we are. And, you know, we're using that as a way to fuel us and keep us moving forward. It is the fuel, you know, it's the fuel.
Absolutely. So, you know, in addition to recognizing that getting out of our own way really takes us being vulnerable and authentic and committed to our message and our mission, what are sort of, you know, some other steps or things what advice would you give to someone if they're kind of coming up across these blocks of self-sabotage and wanting to make a shift, but what would you sort of share with them to do first in getting back on track and moving forward?
My first step is like, hire someone, get a coach, get a therapist, get someone who's going to help you work through it and take action in your life, because we're not meant to do this alone. Just like what we were talking about vulnerability there, this is the same thing. It's like nobody ever does this alone. We don't do it alone. We never have done, even as women, you know. It's like we've kind of we do have that tribal, we need our tribe, we need our community, we always have. And this, even, you know, when they talk about like motherhood, and this is a whole new thing for me as well at the moment, it's like there was always someone around to help with like new babies. And it doesn't matter whether it's a book baby or a business baby or a real baby, it's like we need a team, we need people to help us to take those steps and to kind of learn this new language and this new, you know, it's uncharted waters when you decide to change your life. So that for me has been by far the most powerful thing I've ever done, is just invested money in myself by hiring coaches and people to support me, to help me like spread my message, like, you know, whether it's like a VA or a publicist or whatever. It's not me doing it on my own, you know, like it's not possible. It's not possible. So
I love that.
It sure as hell wasn't possible when I started out. I was like riddled with like the worst insecurities and about being visible online. Like I can't even go there. I mean, you have to imagine the shyest person you've ever imagined in your life. I used to cower. It used to almost make me like sweat at the thought of being on video and talking. But now, you know, with investing in myself and getting a coach and getting help, like I said, it gets easier and easier. So yeah, that's it. That's the best piece of advice I can give.
I love that.
Get help.
I always say don't do dream chasing alone, and you know, you don't have to go after your dreams by yourself, because it literally takes a village. It's kind of like when you're raising a baby, it takes a village to build a business. And I mean, I talk about it all the time where I would not be, I don't think I'd still be doing this if it wasn't for my circle of, you know, business best friends and coaches and just people to talk things through with. So, and you have been instrumental, one of those people for me.
And you.
I love it. So amazing. I wanted to also, you know, ask you sort of your process in really connecting to your message. I know that you in the past have been encouraging me to kind of release, surrender, you know, go into this space where you can really realign with yourself. And if that's where someone is right now, and the reason they're getting in their own way is because they're not clear on that, what sort of advice would you give to that person?
Oh gosh, you know, instinctively, I want to say this, that You're being called to share the thing that you least want to share. You're being called, the thing you're most scared of sharing and talking about and doing is the thing you're most being called to do. That's it. Like, follow your fears. Follow your fears. And if you find yourself thinking, oh my God, I can't say that. I can't say that. Say it. Like, say the things that no one else is willing to say. If you want to stand out online, if you want to stand out in your community, be the one who's willing to go there and have those conversations and say what needs to be said. If you want to be really authentic, say what no one else is saying. Talk about what no one else is talking about. Talk about the things that scare you the most, that you've been hiding away in a box about yourself. Because they're the wounds that are going to bring people towards you, that are going to really help people connect with you.
There's that vulnerability again coming in, and the authenticity. So it kind of all works together in being able to keep going on this entrepreneurial path, which can sometimes feel a little bit rocky, but I mean, that's what makes a great story too. Just having these ups and downs. It can't be perfect.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be thought about too much. This is the other thing, you know, there's so much, like, it feels like as well that there's so much noise around, like, the methods and the best ways and the best, like, everyone wants that, like, the magic pill or the silver bullet or the magical thing that's going to help them work it out. There is no magical thing. It isn't. It's really just about speaking your truth. Talking, like I said, talking about those things that you don't want to talk about, that you pull away from, but the things that you don't see anyone else talking about. That's it. That is it. That is where people will connect with you. That's, you know, they're like the cracks where the light gets in. So
I say that all the time when it, you know, comes to your clarity. Clarity comes from taking action, from getting out on the field of play and actually doing the work and seeing what happens and letting that lead you, instead of being the perfectionist where, you know, I raised my hand. I used to be a crazy perfectionist and wanting to sort of map everything out, being a planner as well, wanting to map out the whole route before, you know, I even take one step forward. But I don't think that's where the magic happens. So let's talk a little bit about, as we wrap this up today, sort of how to kind of give ourselves more grace in this process of being an entrepreneur, getting out of our own way, because it can feel, you know, overwhelming, and we can be really hard on ourselves as entrepreneurs. I know I am my biggest critic, and I think we all are. So I'd love for you to share, you know, your own process and what you sort of do, whether it's a routine or a ritual, to kind of reconnect with yourself and give yourself some more grace.
So I was thinking about this yesterday and it was to do with the idea of, like, birthing. It doesn't matter whether it's a baby or a book or whatever, but when you're creating anything new, to me, it feels like these are opportunities for us, and it's going to show us of how we can give ourselves more love and more compassion and more, I like the word you said there, grace. Give ourselves what we need, like being gentle with ourselves. It's so easy. This is the whole thing, to slip into that self-sabotage, and I should be further along by now, and I can't believe I stayed at that job for 10 years and my life is wasting away, or all of whatever these thoughts that people have. It's when you're birthing anything, it's an opportunity to let it teach you what you need to learn about what you need to really give yourself, and so you can show up more fully. So it could be more like self-care is obviously a massive part of this for me. A deep spiritual practice, and knowing that it's not about me. I just show up and deliver the message. You know, every day I try and deliver the message. Like, how can I be used today as a vehicle for change in the world, to help one person? Like, that's it. You kind of hand it over, and this is something I'm working on, is really forgiving myself. Like, forgiveness is huge. Like, allowing ourselves be where we're at, forgive ourselves for not being like where we thought that we would be like 10 years ago or whatever, 5 years ago. Giving ourselves the self-care, giving ourselves the things that we kind of wish someone else would give us. Like, we got to start with ourselves first. And I think, you know, like when you start a business or you birth anything into the world, bring anything into the world that's new, it's going to change you. So allow it to teach you what you need to be taught right then in that situation, whether it's surrender, whether it's forgiveness, whether it's compassion for yourself, whether it's deeper self-love, deeper self-care, whether it's more exercise, more green juice, whatever. It's going to teach you what you need. It's going to give you exactly what you need. So, and that's the ebb and flow, you know, that's the ups and downs.
Yeah, I know. One of the words that, you know, reminds me the most of you in our conversations over the past year has just been allowing. So allowing that process and releasing and surrendering and, you know, just being okay and giving yourself a break and realizing how much you've already accomplished and that you're not average if you're an entrepreneur and you're doing something that so many people wouldn't be willing to do. So you're going against the grain, and that's an incredible thing, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Amazing. So I am so excited to have had you on the podcast today, but tell everybody sort of where they can find you, how they can get to know more about Emma, because everybody should know you. I feel lucky to have, you know, kept you to myself this whole time, but I'm excited to share you with the world.
So the best place is to get me over at emmatynan.com. It's my website. I've got loads of inspirational blog posts. Everyone loves those blog posts. And you can also catch me over on Facebook. I'm facebook.com/Emma Tynan, Spiritual Boss Babe, all one word. That's my public business page, and there's a link to my private community. And yeah, come on over, say hello. That's where I hang out most of the time. And I can't wait to bring people who feel called to really tap into their mission and their message and to share it with the world.
And get out of their own way.
Get out of their own way. Get out of your own way already. It's not about you.
Thank you so much, Emma.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.